The Seattle Mariners offense remains hot in another series win over the Cincinnati Reds. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, don't look now, but the Seattle Mariners might be on a little bit of a hot streak, winning 6 of their last 7 baseball games. As you guys know, the Mariners were in Cincinnati these past 3 days, in which they lost the first game 8-4, and then they won the second game 5-3, and then yesterday's game 11-7. Now, honestly, this series was almost a complete reverse of what the Texas Rangers series was in my mind, because as you guys know, I did a video on that, basically saying how good the bullpen was, as well as the offense was pretty solid during that series as well. But honestly, in this Cincinnati Red series is almost the complete opposite. Starting pitching looked great, but the bullpen and the bullpen management was absolutely horrendous, but the offense looked great as well. But I feel like what better way is there to compare the Seattle Mariners offense so far this season by comparing it to the 2024 season, which we know they got off to a horrific start offensively. So as we know, as Seattle Mariners fans, the biggest priority when going into the season was how good was the offense going to be. By really not adding that many new pieces, it was kind of up in the air on whether this offense was going to be good, and also, were they going to strike out as much as they did last year? Because as we know, for most of the year, especially at the beginning last year, they led the league in strikeout percentage, which this year, thank God, the case is different, but this offense has looked a lot better in 2025. So starting off by comparing 2024 to 2025, at this point, the Seattle Mariners had played in 19 baseball games, which in terms of F-WAR, they were ranked 23rd at this point last year, while this year they are ranked 13th with a 2.3 F-WAR, and in 2024, where they were ranked 23rd, they had a 1.2 F-WAR as a team. So that is almost double the F-WAR up until this point in the season, which is a huge bounce back compared to how last year started. Now, in terms of runs batted in as a team, there is not that big of a difference. In 2024, they had 66 up until this point, and up until this point now, they have 74. So yes, an improvement, but not a big one. Now, this is a kind of a shocking number, but not shocking if you have been watching the games recently. Last year, the Seattle Mariners had 8 stolen bases up until this point, while this year they have 31. That is a huge upgrade because, as we know, Dan Wilson's main priority is being aggressive on the base path and is clearly working as they lead the American League in stolen bases. Now, let's talk about everyone's favorite number, and that is the K percentage. Last year, the Seattle Mariners had a 28.5% K rate at this point in the season, while this year they are down to a 23.2% K rate, which is more than a 5% drop off. Now, let's be real, this is kind of what we had hoped for with Edgar and Kevin Seitzer being the 2 main hitting coaches on this team, that they would be able to cut down on the strikeouts, and these games are much more enjoyable to watch, even though there are certain players still struggling. These games are much more enjoyable to watch when they are only having about 6 strikeouts a game, compared to last year where we would go through every single game and it'd be like 10 to 13 strikeouts. Not a drastic difference in the walk percentage, but still an upgrade. They were at 10.1% last year up at this point, and right now they're currently at an 11.1%, so a 1% upgrade there, which is good to see because as long as obviously the K percentage is dropping, it is nice to see that the walk percentage is also rising as well. Now, here's also just a little bit of an icky number to look at. Last year, the Seattle Mariners batting average was a 213 up until this point. And right now, even though their offense is obviously a lot better, their batting average is still only a 219 as a team. And a little bit later, I'll go through who's really contributing to why that number is so low. Their slugging percentage as a team is also up a lot, from a 342 to a 384 this season, as well as their WRC plus last season was a 92 at this point, while this year it is currently a 112, so a very big difference there. So it is actually funny enough that the Seattle Mariners are putting the ball in play a lot more based on their K percentage, and they still have that low of a team batting average. So who really is contributing to that team low batting average? Well, let's start off with some of the more disappointing players this season so far, and that was one of the Seattle Mariners' main free agent acquisitions this offseason in Donovan Solano. Donovan Solano has not walked a single time in 2025. He has a 0.0% walk rate, a 29.6% K rate, and 27 plate appearances, with a 77 batting average and a negative 62 WRC plus and a negative 0.5 WAR. So that sucks because that was obviously a player that we had brought in not to be some kind of superstar, but to really get on base and get a lot of hits. He is known for having a high batting average, and so far he has yet to figure it out in a Seattle Mariners uniform. I wouldn't say this next player is the most disappointing because, again, he just had a really hot spring and we had hoped he translated over to the Major League season, but that's Rowdy Tellez in 39 plate appearances. He has a 35.9% K rate, a 111 batting average, and a 10 WRC plus, as well as a negative 0.4 WAR. Now, I won't crap on Leo Rivas because he only does have 11 plate appearances, so I'm not really going to go based on his stats. But here's the main 3 that it has been painful so far to watch from a Seattle Mariners perspective, and that is Mitch Garver, Luke Raley, and Julio Rodriguez. Mitch Garver has a 148 batting average, Luke Raley has a 163, and Julio has a 187. In that same order, a 66 WRC plus, an 83 WRC plus, and a 104 WRC plus, as well as a 0 WAR, 0.1 WAR, and a 0.5 WAR. All three of them do have well above league average walk percentage, especially Mitch Garver, who has a 17.6% walk rate, and all of their K percentages are okay, not great. Luke Raley has the lowest, which is pretty good for him, at a 21.1%. I mean, but those are your main players that are really affecting the team batting average just as a whole, and kind of unfortunate because these are guys that you really hoped come in and make a big difference. And again, there's still time. It is still very early. As you can see, guys like Randy, Cal, JP, they're starting to figure it out as time goes on. Cal's on an absolute tear with 6 home runs in the last 6 games, which is extremely impressive. But JP struggled to start. He's starting to figure it out. Randy Arozarena was hitting the ball really hard, then really kind of fell off a little bit, and now he's starting to figure it out after the Cincinnati series. But it is funny at the end of the day to look at the top 3 in terms of batting average from a Mariners perspective in Jorge Polanco, Dylan Moore, and Miles Mastrobuoni. But like I said, the Seattle Mariners team has looked a lot better, winning 6 of their last 7 ball games, especially against division rivals, which is going to be super huge down the stretch because, as we know, they like to miss the playoffs by 1 game. So I'm extremely pleased with what I've seen so far. Again, it was kind of reverse of the Texas Rangers series in my mind, where the bullpen did really well against the Rangers, but really struggled against the Reds. So hopefully they can turn that around. Hopefully Matt Brash comes back soon. Troy Taylor can kind of find his groove again. And Gregory Santos, who got sent down, can really just find his stuff again. But otherwise, let me know what you guys think of the Seattle Mariners season thus far. And I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.